This is If My People Bible Study, Part 98. We are in Ecclesiastes. Um, this is a good opportunity for when you teach young people. These two books, Proverbs and Ecclesiastes, written by Solomon, are excellent books for home education. I know you can't put this in public schools because of board versus education and throwing out so much of the Yahweh out of the schools today, the public schools. So I can certainly see why they're in turmoil right now at the time of writing the second edition of the If My People Bible. Just to let you know, I'm going to leave my email at the end of this because the new edition, the second edition, has some spelling errors that I put in there. I mostly wasn't spelling more than it was I didn't capitalize certain words that should have been capitalized. And also the new second edition will have all 613 Torah laws of the Old Testament and whittling them down to like 390 something that we can still apply today, and the others you don't because they're ceremonial and have nothing to do uh, with things that you can do for you. You're not in the land, you don't have a temple, you don't have all this blood sacrifice, you don't have all these processes that you have to go through, and certain kind of clothes you have to wear, and certain kind of things that we've discussed in former chapters and former books. And then, of course, the 1,050 Torah commands that people have been asking for. All those are in there. So, um, Solomon in Ecclesiastes 1, I'll start there. The words of the teacher, professor, son of David, king in Jerusalem. Comment, of course, the writer is Solomon. In the book of Proverbs, we read of his wisdom. In this book, we read of the foolishness that he admits, which most people like him would never admit. They'll hide it to the end of time. Life goes sour when you are not near the Father. Ecclesiastes breaks down into meanings, a preacher, philosopher. In just the last 200 years, we now use the word teacher, professor instead of philosophers. But a philosopher has something to do with a religious context. Most great universities throughout the east coast of the United States were founded by Elohimly philosophers, believe it or not. Harvard, Yale, many of the Ivy League colleges today are full of extremely ignorant professors who intentionally, they're intentional. They're not doing it by just being totally ignorant. They're being stupidly ignorant, evilly ignorant, to deny Yahweh in all ways, including creation. All this intelligence they have, the IQ is just way up there, and yet none of them seem to have any sense that Yahweh gave goose. How stunning to actually walk on these college campuses, which I've done a number of them. Um, Even Cornell, of all places, very uh, pro-pagan university. Intentional. How sad. And building entrances to each classroom and seeing all sorts of Greek, Roman, Latin sayings that the students are walking under to go into these Ivy League colleges. And if you look up and they hate Yeshua, they hate God, they hate all this Jesus stuff. And yet, what is written right above in stone, chiseled in stone, they have no idea. First of all, they don't study Latin anymore, so they're clueless. But if they did and they understood it, it's all put in there by the original founders and the philosophers and the extremely uh, strong in the word people in those days who wanted to bring education to all people so that everybody had an education and that everybody could read, especially study the word. And yet today's people have no clue. And more important and sadly, don't care. Right in front of the professors, right in front of the students, they remain clueless. Now, do not spend much time in giving your pearls of wisdom of the word to the pigs of this world. America is pork crazy, and the colleges are full of these pigs. This is a sad comment on the nation, Just read the Latin above the doors, the great halls. It's all there. Quite frankly, the majority of all students who scoff at Yahweh today and pull away from the Father are sitting in these buildings with the Latin praising of the Father written in carved stone right in front of them. It's incredible. So having said that, we go down to chapter 1, verse 13. Solomon says this, I devoted myself to explore by wisdom all that is done under heaven. What a heavy burden Elohim has laid on men. I've seen all the things that are done under the sun, all of them meaningless, a chasing after the wind. He said that 5 or 6 or 7 times about chasing the wind. What is twisted cannot be straightened. What is lacking cannot be counted. And I thought to myself, look, I have grown and increased in wisdom more than anyone who has ruled over Jerusalem before me. That's rather arrogant, isn't it? I have experienced much wisdom and knowledge, and then I applied myself to the understanding of wisdom, also of madness and folly. But I learned that this, too, chasing the wind. For much wisdom comes from sorrow. The more knowledge, the more grief. The more you learn, the more you don't want to know. Chapter 2, verse 1, I thought in my heart, come now, I will test you with pleasure to find out what is good, but that is also what proves to be meaningless. Verse 10, I denied myself nothing. My eyes desired. I refused my heart no pleasure. My heart took delight in all my work. All this was reward for all my labor. 500 or 600 or total of 1,000 wives, counting concubines. Yeah, I bet she was busy. Comment, take heed of all these words. Solomon, who has done all the things he wanted to do, now sees this is vanity. No value. We also chase our daily tasks, thinking we need to do more, produce more, work harder, and all to what end? Solomon's telling you this because he thinks he's experienced more than anyone. Maybe he has, maybe he hasn't. But the point is he thinks he has. And he's trying to warn people, which is great. So he wrote Ecclesiastes. The reason I say this is this nation that we live in, when something goes wrong, especially in the swamp of Washington and the government and so forth, and whether each party, it doesn't really make a difference. When they do something terribly wrong that involves national security issues, you never hear about it. It's all hidden and swept under, and then you get to hear about it 25 to 50 years later when nobody cares. And nobody wants to read it. They just want to repeat history again because that's the curse of not knowing history. Chapter 3, verse 20. All go to the same place. Now talk about death. All come from dust, and dust all return. Comment. Animals, including man, has a body and a soul, a nefesh, something that breathes. The body is not immortal. So upon death, just like animals, our bodies and souls return to dust and ash. Only man has a ruach, belongs to Yahweh. That was came through the line of Adam. Yahweh breathed into Adam. And that's different than something that just breathes. Yahweh didn't breathe into bugs, and he didn't breathe into horses, and he didn't breathe into dogs and cats and other little funny things that they're pretty and everybody likes. For those who love and kiss and hug, and you know, it's amazing. They'll hug and kiss a dog. Who knows where that mouth has been of that dog? But they'll just kiss that dog. And then a child these days, that's why a lot of people just start having children. A dog will love you no matter what. Well, a child, you know, they're afraid to death. That I might end up having a child that treats me the way I treated my parents. That's why they don't have kids. It just, oh. By the way, that's a command of Yahweh to multiply and fill the earth, to bring out all those souls that have existed that Father has always known, and he wants them put them in human bodies, and so that they can be, we can all go into judgment one day, some for righteousness and some for eternal damnation. Let me continue. Only man has a ruach that belongs to Yahweh. The body and the soul remain until the resurrection. So the soul, to be absent from the body, we've repeated this several times, is to be present uh, with Adonai, with Elohim. Uh, they're not together. The body is still down here. So can Yahweh recreate and resurrect a body that has been cremated into dust? Well, yeah. As much as he can, someone's been sitting in a grave for 10,000 years and turns to dust. So for people who are just scared to death of how they're going to die, it's got to be a certain way and buried with $15,000 and burial costs and all that. It's all vanity, folks. It's all vanity. The spirits will return to Yahweh. All ruachs will go to the Father, and those that go to eternal life will go to eternal life, and those souls that will be destroyed because of eternal sin will go there. So you say some of the souls will be never in the presence of Yahweh again? Yeah, that's what's being separated from the Father forever. That's exactly what I'm saying. Okay. In Ecclesiastes, Solomon is giving you all of an understanding that go through life loving and caring for one another, learning to say yes, learning to say no, let your yes be yes and your no be no. Chapter 7. A good name is better than fine perfume. A day of death better than a day of birth. It is better to go to a house of mourning than to go to a house of feasting, for death is the destiny of every man. The living should take this to heart. Comment. To assist you through these last six chapters, 7 through 13, we note the following. Solomon has tried to find satisfaction through science, natural laws, philosophy, psychology, fatalism, egoism, religion, wealth, and now he tries morality for his eighth path to walk. Today, most people cannot even mention half of the Ten Commandments. And so when pressed, the so-called Christians say, well, all I know is I love Jesus and I try my best to be a good person. I hear that a lot. That is morality at its best, but it cannot get you any closer to Yahweh. The thief on the cross, hung on the tree with Yeshua, did neither of these to get Yeshua to respond to him. The thief confessed to Yeshua in the presence of others. He called upon his name. The key word. Yeshua's response to him was to know sincerity in that one statement. So, we go to chapter 7, verse 28. While I was preaching but finding nothing, I found one upright man among 1,000, but not one upright woman among them all. That's a tough comment. This is a hard verse to swallow. However, it might be a better choice for Solomon to have had only one wife instead of 1,000. Okay? Loyalty and true love begets the same in return. So he should have stepped to being loving to one wife and not having 1,000. That is a horrible thing he did. That's probably the worst thing that he did. He was probably regretting every time he said, bring the next one in. Chapter 9, verse 5. For the living know they will die, but the dead know nothing. They have no further reward, and even the memory of them is forgotten. Comment. Now, we often hear that our beloved one has passed and is up in heaven, listening unto us, giving us a good word for us, and can even visit us in spirit at times. Oh, this is temporary calming of the living ones who miss that person, but it's simply not true. Pastors are good at saying these lies. The dead hear nothing. Only Hasatan's spirits can communicate to some degree if we invite them in. Only angelic messengers appearing as humans can be with us at times. And this passage helps greatly with 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 6 and chapter 5, verse 8 on the state of your soul and spirit when dead. Having said that, I hope that helps clear up a little bit. The key point to Ecclesiastes is living in holy fear of Yahweh, and hearing and obeying is the entire point of life. All the things that people think they want and need are all dust in the wind at the end.